Aloe Constance says, by inflicting Obamacare on America, lefty voters behaved a lot like a badly trained dog that poops on the living room rug. Is it wise or even possible to train them not to do it again without first rubbing their noses in their own smelly pile? Well, that's certainly a colorful way of putting it. And I'm going to disagree with the premise here because of two things. First of all, the American people voted like a badly trained dog that poops on the living room rug because no one ever told them not to poop on the living room rug, and everything that they ever heard, at least that they believed, told them it's great to poop on the living room rug. Everything that the American people have been told through the media outlets and through their idols, their movie star idols and their pop idols and their recording idols and their comedy idols, everything that they read in the New York Times and everything everywhere told them, go poop in the middle of the living room rug. And when they did it and rewarded for it, then 4 years later said, go do it again. So it's hard for me to blame the American people for this. There, obviously, some percentage of the American people are aware of what this guy is. And look, I'll just say this frankly, okay? I have a lot more sympathy for people who voted for Obama because they didn't know any better. Because how would they know any better? They don't see anything else but all of this glorification of him. I actually feel better, more sympathy and towards people who voted for him because they didn't know the truth about him than the people that did know the truth about him and decided to sit these two elections out. That's the truth. Anyway, I think the problem is not that these people are pooping on the living room rug on purpose. They just didn't know any better. Now, I will say that a great many people who did vote for Barack Obama did so specifically for wealth redistribution purposes, and almost all of those people were people who wanted other people's wealth redistributed to them, and the small percentage of people who also voted for him at the top end of the economic scale realized that they had enough income to redistribute, and also they'd probably get a pass on one form or another because they had connections. So I'm not trying to completely excuse the people that voted for him, and I certainly don't, if you're voting for Barack Obama so that somebody can pay for your health care, then that's kind of reprehensible. I just think a significant number of the people that voted for Barack Obama didn't really think that it meant that somebody else was paying for their health care. I think they figured that the government was going to pay for their health care. I don't think most people know that the government's money comes from the individual taxpayers. I know certainly for a certain moral fact that many people don't know that. So there's your first part of the question. The part I actually really disagree with is this idea of rubbing their noses in it. Because what Obama is doing to the country is rubbing our noses in it. With the government shutdown, when he puts up barricades to prevent veterans from getting to an outdoor memorial that never had guards or park rangers or barricades in the first place, when he deploys $100,000 worth of barricades to keep people out of a monument that they could have walked through freely anyway at any time in order to make the American people feel the results of this shutdown, that's rubbing the American people's nose in it. That's rubbing their nose in it. It's making them feel pain rather than allowing them to feel pain. And this is a fundamental difference. So I don't think we rub people's noses in it. What I think is, I do think that we don't prevent people from the smell, which is what we've been doing this whole time, right? Is trying to prevent this from happening. And so no one's ever seen the consequences of it. But now that it's happened, people go, this is terrible. This stinks. That's not rubbing people's noses in it. That's allowing them to recognize the consequences of their vote. And I've been a big advocate of this for a long time. People vote for socialism in America because it's a capitalist society. And they vote for socialism because they have all the benefits of capitalism. Generally, well-to-do, they've got iPhones and iPads, and they write about socialism on their iPads, and they write about being one of the 99% while they sit in Starbucks and pay $9 for coffee and then scream down with corporations over their Apple iPads transmitted over Verizon phone lines on HP servers. So people need to feel the consequences of it. And the reason that this guy's finally in trouble is that for the first time ever, reality has raised its ugly head and intruded on his rhetoric. His rhetoric didn't trump reality this time. People got an envelope saying, your health care is gone. If you would like new health care, you can go to the Obama site WebCare and you can get your new awesome Obamacare, and it's going to cost you 4 times what you're paying and provide you with less coverage. And people are saying, the what now? And that's turning a lot of people's heads. And of all the things I've heard about Obamacare, the one that really is the eye-opener. And look, this is a vile position to have started with. I'm not sympathetic to this person, but it is a sign of something happening. Some woman somewhere said, I was all for Obamacare until I realized that I had to pay for it. That's the country in a nutshell right now, right? Well, that's 50% of the country in a nutshell. That's the Obama coalition. Totally in favor of Obamacare until they realize they have to pay for it. And now they realize they have to pay for it. And I mentioned this in the Horowitz speech. I've done it in a couple of other speeches. I don't think I've ever done it specifically in a firewall. But when I was at Oberlin College, I asked the audience, in Q&A afterwards, it wasn't a real big crowd, needless to say, how many of you are out there are socialists? And about 7 out of 10 raised their hands. And I said, okay, all you socialists, what kind of phones do you have? I have an iPhone 5. And they, so what do you mean? I said, just, what kind of phone do you have? And, they're holding up, droids and iPhones and this kind of thing. And it's like, okay, why don't you bring them all down here and put them in a box in the front of the room? Well, why do you want our phones? It's like, well, I want your phones because after this evening is over, you and I, all of us together, are going to take these phones and we're going to go to downtown Cleveland and we're going to find a pawn shop. We have probably easily got $2,000 worth of electronics here, even at pawn rates. So we're going to take all of your iPhones and all of your droids and all your laptops and all this other stuff. We're going to take it downtown after the show. I'm not going to keep your money. We're going to drive through downtown Cleveland, and we're going to hand out $100 bills to homeless people. We're going to hand out $100 bills or $120 bills, however you want to play it. And so bring them down, but they don't bring them down because those are their phones. You see, that's their phones, and so all of a sudden they realize that wealth redistribution is one thing when other people's wealth's being distributed to them, but when it's their wealth being distributed to somebody else, then all of a sudden they're not socialists. And that's exactly what's happening on a national scale right now. People are realizing that if socialism means that I have to pay instead of rich guy, then all of a sudden they're not socialists. Now, morally, that's repugnant, but practically, it's effective. This is how you demagogue people, right? I mean, you live in a life of affluence and prosperity and blaming the rich and demonizing the rich. Make the rich pay. Well, guess what? The rich don't have enough money to pay for this. Even if you took all their money, there wouldn't be enough to pay for this. So you get to pay now. Now you get to pay another $500, $600, $700, $800 a month so that master's degree holding Sandra Fluck, who probably makes $80,000 a year, at least minimum 90, something like that, can afford her $30 a month of birth control pills. Your rates are going to triple or quadruple so that Sandra Fluck can have her birth control pills for free. For free. Any questions? Let's see. I think we'll do one more here.